guru yoga part and like requesting the guru yoga and actually not feeling like you're kind of like that you're quite worthy of it, or that you're not.
The self-loathing.
The Christian guilt is what I call it personally, but like that's just what I
That's
call it.
one of the most popular questions addressed His Holiness. The Tibetans, even beggars, they had a divine pride or something.
And I can talk maybe from my personal. This has changed over time, but like I mean, I grew up in a Christian household, a very strict Orthodox Christian household, which really beat me up for like you're not worth. Really drilled that into me, like truly drilled it into me that I'm not pure, and it's by His grace alone that I'm going to be able to, right? And it's like, and so I've always had this really weird relationship with that, right? And over the years, like 100%, I've seen it come into the path and out of the path and really like, and it's really done a number on me really, and I can really sympathize with the question. When I was starting out in Vajrayana, one of the biggest things that I was experiencing was that, like, because you said this in the teaching, there's a part where you say when you're imagining the guru and you just think to yourself, okay, well, this is the guru and I'm just imagining the guru out there, and but the guru is also emptiness. But I'm making, oh, please, guru, please, guru, do, give, and actually, if you do that, you said in the video, it's not very effective because you actually have to have inner trust is the word that you use in the teaching. You talk a lot about inner trust and the inner trust and the wisdom. And then you also talk about how the great yogis all left their guru. At first, the guru is there at first to help you.
Perhaps I could say something briefly about feeling unworthy of requesting teachings. And this comes from my own experience of practicing within the Japanese Pure Land tradition of Shin Buddhism, or Jodo Shinshu. Basically, all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, they want nothing more than to help all beings. So they want nothing more than to help me and to help you. But most beings are asleep. So actually, when I call upon Amida Butsu, Nama Amida Butsu, Amida Butsu instantaneously appears in my mind's eye and then rejoices in my merits for having called upon him. They're delighted when we request teachings, all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, because that's their heart's deepest wish, is to relieve suffering.
No, the Catholic guilt thing never really worked on me. I never really felt undeserving or anything like that. But sometimes lately, it's just seemed like so profound to be receiving these teachings that I'm like, well, why me? Like, even if I have a pretty good opinion of myself, I don't know that I'm that great to deserve the highest possible teaching. But I think what I came to is that the fact that you're even willing and able to practice this is huge. It's massive. It's incredible. So just anybody who is willing to do this, I think the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas they rejoice.
It's coming down to this ego self, no? We have an ego self, human self, which is suffering, which has a feeling this I'm not deserving, or I'm just too much, or why me, me. And also, each of us has this big self in Zen terminology. It's big self or self that beyond this small cocoon island of self, this big self which is completely open, and nature in compassion and wisdom knows everything already you know everything, and pure, primordially, never damaged, never will be damaged. So that's trust. When Dakini's Whisper started, I used to do this kind of meditation, coming from my own experience, this relationship between the human self and also big self, Prajna Paramita, you as a Prajna Paramita, embracing this human self within you. It's not something out there, Prajna Paramita, but human self. Human self is like a little baby, in psychological term, or like a inner child or child which hasn't grown up yet, but then always there. And this big self mother, great mothers embracing that. So as we practice Tantra or whatever practice, spiritual practice we do, that sense of the Prajna Paramita, big self started to be aware of the presence of that big self. Then from that point of view, you are able to embrace this human self, suffering self, ego self. Then you can take that ego self with you on this journey. I mean, she or he, this little girl, 3 year or 5 year old girl or boy, might run the wild, but they still kind of also grow. They also come along with you, and then create a very lovely relationship. Then you don't need to fight, or ego, I'm not that, I'm not. Okay, if that kind of voice came out, then okay, you again, that's okay, child. I'm here, you are not that, not only that, you are a big self here, and mom is watching you, and something like that, kind of creating a very nurturing relationship. Yeah, sometimes still my ego self allowed, but then the more awareness of big self develops, so it doesn't bother me.
I think you were mentioning one time about Tara, a vision given by Machik, where she says, "You are Vajrayogini." I mean, even somebody as realized as her had to be convinced of her nature, I guess. And even at the end, I was reading at one point her last teaching, and she was referring to herself as the silly old woman. So I'm still trying to kind of figure that out because I'm not sure if the Eastern mind is as aware of this, but it seems to be like the Western mind, especially the Christian mind. That's some of the work we have to do is sort of realizing the true nature of this, great love that we've been kind of blinded to by our upbringing.
Yeah, Machiko's case, yeah, of course, there are cultural things, modesty, I'm a stupid old lady or something like that. That might be the one. Also, Machiko's phrase, you may know, supplication to five Machik. One of the phrases is, you are human and non-human. I praise you, my mom. So that's kind of a thing. Each of us has this human qualities, which is the actually great treasure. We can suffer, we can feel the pain of others. If we are not the humans, I mean beyond the human, transcendent, it's difficult to really compassion, feel how suffering feels like. But at the same time, we are beyond that. We have this tremendous capacity to awaken, and also we have this understanding. That's the place where this journey comes, right? We are trying to understand the emptiness, reality as it is, and this is a kind of illusionary reality, and we are trapped in, but also alternative, this ultimate reality. So try to cultivate this wisdom of emptiness, right? That's kind of things allowed us to transcend this trap of this samsaric suffering. So those kind of two aspects. I don't know about Christianity, but the wisdom part, I think a great contribution. One of the Buddha's contribution is this wisdom of emptiness. Of course, dependent arising goes both sides of the same coin, but then wisdom, the emptiness, appear yet empty. So that's sort of understanding as a solution, actually, ultimate solution to this human suffering.
Was learning they called it the immeasurables, my teacher, and we would may all sentient beings be free from suffering, that part. She would have us imagine every sentient being, hold it in our mind and our heart, and that helped me a lot with that feeling of not being worthy, because after doing that so many times, there was like this realization that it's not me and somebody else. Like we're all this like sentient being, but in that I have a different kind of challenge with the Christian upbringing and then following this path, in that what I really struggle with is that wanting to go just straight for comfort, be comforted by the Mother Mary to hold you in your pain rather than kind of sitting in the vast emptiness. Sometimes I feel that.
Yeah, Mother Mary, great mother. That's you. So 5 Dakini practice, we do the Prajna Paramita self-generation first. Then we make a relationship to Dakinis. Again, emptiness, important. So whenever we practice, like light goes out, light goes in, not necessarily related to the sadhana practice, I often do that. You are become like a lighthouse for shedding light to the darkness in the world. So light goes out. That's actually tantric. This is a tantric, more like completion state, tantric practice coming from heart chakra, and then all the entire body. You become a savior, you become a Mary, you can say. So that sort of practice will help. If you have this kind of ego-driven self-loathing, it's not about putting down anything, your feeling or our feeling, because each of us has this ego self. That's what I was saying. So this is too much egos. This kind of practice of breaking or relaxing more strongly held these egos start relaxing, dissolving in the reality of vast sky of emptiness, vast expanse of space. And so that sort of practice hopefully helping me